The rain was hitting the windshield harder than usual as I drove through the familiar streets of Portland. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, not from the cold October evening, but from what I was about to do. After 3 years of silence, I was having dinner with my parents. The text had come that morning. "Let's put the past behind us, sweetheart. Just family." 7 p.m. "I'm making your favorite mushroom soup." Mom's message seemed warm, almost too warm for someone who hadn't spoken to me since I testified against Uncle Ray. Their house looked the same from outside. The porch light flickered like it always had. Dad's truck was parked crooked in the driveway. Normal. Everything looked so normal. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, watching the rain create rivers on the glass, before finally walking to the door. Mom opened it before I could knock. She looked older, grayer, but her smile was bright. Too bright. "Oh, honey, you came." She pulled me into a hug that felt rehearsed. Dad stood behind her, nodding quietly. He'd always been the quiet one. The dining room smelled like memory. Mushroom soup, fresh bread, the lavender candles Mom always lit for special occasions. We sat in our old spots, like the past 3 years hadn't happened, like I hadn't stood in a courtroom and told the truth about what I saw Uncle Ray do. "You look thin," Mom said, ladling soup into my bowl. "Have you been eating enough?" "I'm fine, Mom. Still working at that law firm downtown." Dad finally spoke, his voice rough. "Yes, still there." The soup steamed in front of me. Chunks of mushroom floated in the cream. Mom watched me, waiting. I lifted the spoon halfway to my mouth, when my phone buzzed on the table. "Sorry," I said, glancing down. The message made my blood freeze. "Get up and leave. Don't say anything to your parents." The number wasn't saved in my phone, but I recognized it. My stomach dropped. It was Rachel's number. Rachel, my cousin. Rachel, who had died in a car accident 2 months ago. At least, that's what they told me. I looked up. Mom was still smiling, but her eyes were focused on my face, studying my reaction. Dad had stopped eating, his spoon suspended over his bowl. "Everything okay?" Mom asked. "Yeah, just work." I forced myself to smile back and lifted the spoon again. Another buzz. "Don't eat the soup." Smile like nothing's wrong. My hand trembled. The spoon clinked against the bowl as I set it down. Mom's smile never wavered, but something shifted in her eyes. "You still like mushrooms, right?" she asked. "I remember you loved them as a kid." "Of course." My voice sounded strange to my own ears. I picked up my water glass instead, buying time. "Actually, could I use the bathroom?" "Long drive." "Of course, honey. You remember where it is." I stood carefully, leaving my phone face down on the table. My legs felt weak as I climbed the familiar stairs. In the bathroom, I locked the door and pulled out my work phone, the one I always kept in my jacket. My fingers shook as I scrolled through old contacts. Martin Reeves, Dad's lawyer from the divorce. That never happened. The divorce papers that got mysteriously withdrawn after Uncle Ray was arrested. I pressed call. He answered on the second ring. "I wondered when you'd call." His voice was urgent. "Are you in possession of the blue notebook?" "What? What? What notebook?" "Your father's notebook. The blue one. The one with the deposits." I gripped the phone tighter. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Think. Where would he hide something important? You need to find it before." The line crackled. "Just find it. And whatever you do, don't eat anything they give you." The call ended. I stared at myself in the mirror. My face was pale. My pupils dilated with fear. The blue notebook. Dad's office had been in the attic. I'd played up there as a kid, knew all the hiding spots. I flushed the toilet for show and ran the water. Then, as quietly as possible, I climbed the narrow stairs to the attic. It was dusty, forgotten. Boxes were stacked against the walls. Dad's old desk sat in the corner, covered in a sheet. My hands moved on muscle memory to the secret compartment under the bottom drawer. Still there. Inside was a blue spiral notebook, its pages yellowed with age. I flipped it open. Dates, numbers, deposits made to an account that wasn't ours. And names. So many names, including Rachel's. A floorboard creaked behind me. "You always were too smart for your own good." I spun around. Uncle Ray stood at the top of the stairs. Not in prison. Not where he should be. Very much here, in my parents' house. Hello, niece. You're supposed to be in prison. Early release. Good behavior. He smiled. And it was the same smile from that night, 3 years ago. Your parents have been very helpful with my readjustment. I clutched the notebook to my chest. They said you'd never get out. Money talk. And your dad kept excellent records of where all that money went, who it bought. He took a step closer. The question is, what are you going to do now? I backed toward the window. The same thing I did before. Tell the truth. Your cousin tried that. His smile widened. How'd that work out for her? Rachel. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't need to look to know it was her. Somehow, warning me again. You killed her. Car accidents happen, especially to people who don't listen. Another step. Your parents are practical people. They understand the value of family loyalty, of keeping secrets, of staying quiet. The window was locked. Of course it was. I could hear footsteps on the stairs now. Mom's voice, calling softly. Honey, you okay up there? She's fine, Uncle Ray called back. Just catching up. I thought fast. The notebook was evidence. But I needed more. I needed them to admit it. My work phone was still recording. A habit from depositions. I slipped it deeper into my pocket, making sure it was secure. So what now? I asked, louder than necessary. You drugged me like you were planning to downstairs, make it look like another accident. Mom appeared at the top of the stairs. The bright smile was gone. We didn't want it to come to this. We offered you a chance to come back to the family, to let the past be the past. The past where he killed someone, where you're helping him. The past where you destroyed our family. Dad's voice came from behind Mom. Where you chose strangers over blood. He was guilty. He was family. Mom's mask finally cracked. And now Rachel's gone. Because she couldn't understand that. Don't make the same mistake. I laughed. It was bitter. Hollow. You think I came here without backup? Without telling anyone? Your phone's been on our table for 20 minutes. Uncle Ray said. No calls out. My work phone, I said, pulling it partially from my pocket, has been recording everything. It's uploading to the cloud, every word you just said. The silence was beautiful. Mom's face went white. Dad's hands clenched. Uncle Ray's smile finally disappeared. You're lying, he said. Am I? Wanna bet Rachel's notebook against it? I held up the blue spiral. Yeah, that's right. This isn't Dad's notebook. It's Rachel's. Every detail about your operation. Every person you paid off. Every crime covered up. She gave it to Martin before she died. He just needed me to confirm it was here. To prove you still had connections to it. More footsteps on the stairs. Heavy ones. Police. Nobody moved. The house I grew up in filled with uniforms. I stayed by the window, clutching Rachel's notebook. Watching my family get handcuffed in the dusty attic, where I used to play hide and seek. Detective Morrison took the notebook with gloved hands. You did good. Rachel would be proud. She's the one who warned me, I said quietly. He gave me a strange look. What do you mean? I showed him my phone, the messages from her number. His face went pale. We need to get you out of here, he said quickly. Now. What? Why? Because Rachel's phone was buried with her. Someone else has been. He grabbed my arm. Move. We ran down the stairs, past the dining room where 3 bowls of mushroom soup sat cooling, past the family photos on the walls, out into the rain. Who was texting me? I asked, as he pushed me into his car. We'll figure it out at the station. Right now, we need to. My phone buzzed. One last message. This time, the number wasn't hidden. It was Martin Reeves. You're welcome. She would have wanted you safe. I stared at the message as we drove away. In the side mirror, I watched my childhood home get smaller and smaller. Police cars surrounding it like antibodies, fighting an infection. 2 days later, an excavator arrived at the house. The foundation work Uncle Ray had insisted on doing 10 years ago was finally being investigated. They found more than anyone expected under that concrete. Martin told me later that Rachel had come to him first, trying to build a case. When she died, he knew they'd come for me eventually. He'd been monitoring my parents' phones, waiting. When Mom sent the dinner invitation, he knew. But how did you access her phone? I asked. He smiled sadly. I didn't, but you needed to believe someone was looking out for you. Someone you'd trust instantly. Fear makes people smart, but hope makes them brave. I never went back to the house. It's evidence now, wrapped in yellow tape and bad memories. Mom and Dad took plea deals. Uncle Ray didn't get that option. The notebook Rachel died protecting made sure of that. Sometimes I dream about that dinner, about what would have happened if I'd eaten the soup. If Martin hadn't sent those messages, if Rachel hadn't been brave enough to write it all down. But mostly, I try not to think about it at all. I have a new phone now. New number. I don't save contacts as names anymore, just initials. And I never ever eat mushroom soup. The last time I drove past my childhood home, they were tearing it down. The foundation was cracked beyond repair. They said. Something about what was underneath had compromised the whole structure. I didn't stop to watch. Some things are better left buried, even when you're the one who dug them up. But I kept Rachel's picture on my dashboard. A reminder that sometimes the dead speak louder than the living. And sometimes the best thing you can do for your family is to let them go. The rain in Portland hasn't stopped feeling like a warning. Every October, when the mushrooms bloom in the forest outside the city, I remember that dinner. The one where I got up and left. The one where I didn't say anything to my parent. The one where I finally learned that family isn't about blood. It's about who warns you not to eat the soup. But the story didn't end with the excavation. That was just the beginning of understanding how deep the rot went. 3 weeks after the arrest, I was sitting in my apartment when someone knocked through the peephole. I saw a woman about my age, holding a box. "I'm Sarah," she said. When I opened the door, "Sarah Chen. I think we need to talk." The name hit me like cold water. Sarah Chen was one of the names in Rachel's notebook, one of the victims. "You're supposed to be dead," I said. That was the plan. She held up the box. "May I come in?" We sat at my kitchen table, the box between us like a barrier. She was thin, nervous, her fingers constantly moving. "I was 17 when I met your uncle," she began, "working at the grocery store near your parents' house. He was charming, helpful, said he could get me a better job. I knew where this was going. The pattern was in the notebook. The job was real. At first, good money. Then came the parties, the drinks that made everything fuzzy, the photos I don't remember taking." Her voice was steady, practiced. "When I tried to leave, he showed me the pictures, said he'd send them to my family, my school, everyone. So you paid. For 3 years. Your dad handled the transactions, made it look like consulting fees." She opened the box. Inside were receipts, bank statements, photos of ledgers. "I kept everything. I knew someday. Why didn't you go to the police?" "I did. Officer Reynolds sent me home, told me not to make trouble." She pulled out a photo. Reynolds was another name in the notebook. "Your uncle owned half the precinct." "Had owned." I corrected. Past tense now. "Thanks to you." "And Rachel." She touched the box gently. "She found me 2 years ago, said she was building a case, gave me a burner phone, told me to document everything. When she died, I thought it was over, but you kept collecting evidence. I had to. For her. For all of us." She pulled out a list. Names, dates, amounts. There were 17 of us that we know of. Your uncle was careful, but your dad kept records of everything. Habit from his accounting days. I stared at the list. 17 lives destroyed. 17 people who'd been trapped in my uncle's web while I was eating family dinners and playing in the attic. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because the FBI wants to talk to you, and I wanted you to understand what you're really walking into." She leaned forward. "Your family wasn't just helping your uncle. They were the infrastructure. Your mom recruited, your dad laundered. Your aunt, Aunt Linda, she lives in Seattle. She disposed of problems, like the girl who tried to run in 2018, or the one who threatened to talk in 2020. Sarah's eyes were dark. Or Rachel." The room spun. I gripped the table. "You're saying my entire family was a criminal organization?" "Yes." She pulled out a business card. "Agent Martina, she'll contact you tomorrow. Be ready." After Sarah left, I sat with her box of evidence until dawn. Every receipt was a life damaged. Every photo was someone's worst nightmare. Every bank statement was my father's neat handwriting, documenting human misery like inventory. Agent Martinez came at exactly 9 a.m. She was younger than I expected, sharp-eyed and direct. "We've been watching your family for 5 years," she said, spreading files across my table. "Could never get enough for warrants. Your cousin Rachel changed that, and now I just wanted to have dinner with my parents." "No, you didn't." She tapped a file. "You've been estranged for 3 years. You testified against your uncle. You kept your work phone recording. Part of you knew something was wrong." She was right. The signs had always been there. The way conversations stopped when I entered rooms. The business trips that lined up with missing person reports. The family friends who disappeared without explanation. "We need your help," Martinez continued. "The notebook and recordings are good, but we need context. Details only family would know." "What kind of details?" "Everything. Holiday gatherings where deals were made, family friends who were actually clients or victims, properties used for activities." She paused. "I know it's hard, but 17 victims deserve justice, and there may be more." Over the next months, I became an encyclopedia of family secrets. I drew floor plans of houses, identified people in old photos, explained coded language my family used. Going mushroom picking meant collecting payment. Checking on the rental meant dealing with a problem. Family recipe meant a new victim. The trial was worse than testifying against Uncle Ray. This time, it wasn't just one person, it was everyone. Mom cried when they showed the photos of what they did to girls who tried to run. Dad stared straight ahead as they read his ledgers aloud, each entry a life destroyed. Aunt Linda was the worst. She smiled through it all, like we were still at Sunday dinner. Even when they showed the evidence of what she'd done to Rachel, she kept smiling. "Family sticks together," she said when they led her away. "You'll understand someday." I understood already. Family had stuck together to hurt people, to destroy lives, to murder my cousin when she tried to stop them. The house sold at auction. I heard a young couple bought it, planning to renovate. They posted photos online of the demolition, excited about their fresh start. They never asked why it sold so cheap, why no family members bid, why the foundation needed to be completely replaced. I wanted to warn them about the ground underneath, about what soaked into that soil. But what could I say? That evil lived there. That the pretty kitchen, where they planned family dinners, was where my mother recruited vulnerable girls. That the basement they wanted to convert into a playroom was where Uncle Ray developed his photos. I said nothing. Let them build their dreams on cleared ground. Sarah and I stayed in touch. She introduced me to the others, the survivors who'd been brave enough to come forward. We met monthly, an odd support group bound by shared horror. Some were rebuilding their lives, others were still broken, held together by therapy and determination. "Do you regret it?" one asked me once. "Turning them in?" "No," I said. "I regret not seeing it sooner." The FBI found 3 more bodies under properties my family owned. 3 girls who'd been problems. According to Dad's ledgers, 3 families who finally got answers about where their daughters went. One was Melissa Hendricks, age 19, missing since 2019. Her mother came to the sentencing. She sat behind me, quiet until Mom was led away. Then she leaned forward. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving me back my daughter. Even like this." I broke down then, in the courtroom where my family was sentenced to life without parole. I sobbed for Melissa, for Rachel, for all of them, for the family I thought I had, for the innocent dinners that were never innocent, for the childhood memories now stained with blood. Martin Reeves retired after the trial. He sent me one last message. "Your cousin would be proud. You did what she couldn't. You survived telling the truth." But survival felt hollow. I had a new name now, legally changed for safety. A new city where no one knew my face from the news. A new job where background checks didn't reveal my birth name. Yet every October, I drove back to Portland, not to the house. Never there, but to Rachel's grave. I'd bring mushroom soup from the deli, pour it on the ground, and tell her about the girls who were free because she was brave. About the families who had answers. About the justice that came too late, but came nonetheless. "You saved me," I'd tell her headstone. your notebook, your courage. You saved us all. The last time I visited, someone had left fresh flowers. The card said, "From the 17, forever grateful." We were 18 now, counting Rachel. 18 girls bound by horror but not broken by it. 18 survivors of my family's recipe for evil. And one who got the message in time. Get up and leave. I did, and I never looked back.